Rick, sports consultant and mentor. Today's conversation is about nutrition. It's called Eat Like a Champion. All right. So, first off, I do want to say this. I'm not a dietitian. Everything that I'm going to be saying is things that I've learned, heard, seen, experienced. It is not fact. Um, it's just what I personally believe at this moment. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, then simply don't listen to it. That's all. Okay. If you try what I'm saying and it doesn't work for you, I'm not a dietitian. I'm just giving you my stories, my experience about food, my belief systems, things that I do, what's been working for me, what hasn't worked. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. Okay. So growing up, I grew up on sugar and butter on my rice. We would put sugar in our cornflakes. Cornflakes are like Frosted Flakes. I'm not sure if you guys know that. Um, we would do sugar and bananas. And at the bottom of the cereal would be all the um, sugar grains, right? And I would scoop that up and drink that and all that stuff. I was very unhealthy when it came down to my nutrition. I did not know that was not as supportive for my nutrition. What else? My mom would make her famous breakfast would be French toast, and it would be stacked up 4 to 5 pieces of French toast, and it would have also eggs on the side, and there would be a puddle of butter inside of the actual French toast, right? Because it would like sink in. We would have sausage. It would be Parmesan or whatever it's called, the ones in the white package. Those would be great. We would have bacon sometimes, and then grits with sugar and butter, right? I would have this for breakfast. And that was like the breakfast that I felt like would be my comfort food. Growing up, I always had asthma. Okay. It was sports induced asthma. I would have asthma attacks. I would have the inhaler, the old school ones back in the day, where like you would literally like get the pill and then you would grind it up and then you would inhale like the powder version of it. It was old school. Anyway, um, and every single time I would have my asthma attacks or asthma issues would be in the fall, right? And I would always blame it to the weather change or whatever else. And then what else? I got to high school, and whenever I would have track meets and games, most of them were during the week. Football was always during the week. It was Thursdays because I was freshman, and then basketball games were Tuesday, Thursdays. Um, Whenever I did have weekend games, it was because it was like in the summer, right? And then track and field was always weekdays, but then I would have some track meets on weekends. And my mom would feed me this breakfast of sausage, bacon, eggs, French toast, grits, right? And I would go to my track meets and would perform poorly. And I was like, man, like whenever I have these track meets, these invitationals, I would perform so poorly. I'm like, why? Why is this? I was like, you know what? I'm not trying hard enough. So I would train harder. Then I would have the same outcome, poor performances. Man, like what's going on? You know what? Let me try something else. Let me assess that I'm actually just like not mentally ready for the track meets. Anyway, high school career ends. I go to college, junior college, and now I'm eating what I eat, right? Let me tell you this. This is how bad I was eating. Man, it's bad to say. Okay, so I would literally go to Jack in the Box and they knew my voice. I would show up, be like, yo, and they would know my order. I would order 12, 12 tacos from Jack in the Box, bacon potato wedges, and a milkshake. The Oreo, the Oreo one. Okay. I would eat all that. And I would go to practice. The food would somehow stay down. This is before or after practice. I don't know. I don't know if I forget when, but I would order that. And if I didn't go to Jack in the Box, I would then go to Del Taco and I would order 12 tacos, hard shell. I couldn't do the soft tortilla ones because I would fill up too fast. Anyway, I would order all these, right? And I performed. I did my thing. Mind you, I'm still like jumping far. I'm still performing really well. Get to Cal State Los Angeles. I'm in the dorms, and my mom happens to buy me a deep fryer. So when I was living with one of my friends in junior college that year that I didn't run track, third year, right? Um, they had this thing where they would eat French fries with eggs on top and like garlic salt on top, and it was really good. And like the eggs were over easy, and they would like ooze onto the fries, right? Anyway, so I was thinking like I want a deep fryer. My mom got me one while I was in college, and I would deep fry potatoes, and I would make this potatoes and eggs situation, right? I did it for like 2 or 3 weeks. I gained 5 pounds, and I knew it because I was like, "What's up with my six pack's going away?" Right? And I weighed myself, and I was 5 pounds heavier. I'm like, I gained 5 pounds in like 3 weeks, and I was like, "Oh, it's because of the fried foods that I'm eating." So I threw that away, lost the weight back, and I was good. And I was like, man, like that's crazy how that worked out. Fast forward, I go pro. Whereas I'm pro, they're like, here's your meal plan. The meal plan was at the time like a low carb diet. I didn't have any carbs. It was literally um, either salmon or like whitefish, and then dark green vegetables. And every 18th meal, I would have a refeed so I wouldn't go through ketosis, right? So I would do a refeed. Basically, I would have like sweet potato, oatmeal. I would have like hard, like high carbohydrate foods um, that were like complex carbs. And then my body would reset and I kept my muscle mass. I was like lean. I had like veins all across my chest. Just it was crazy. I was ripped, right? Anyway, I felt amazing. And my asthma went away during that time. I literally didn't have asthma at all. And I was like, I feel so good. Then fast forward, I end up stop running track, and I met this girl. This is way back then. And long story short, she had multiple sclerosis, and I had no idea what it was. So I looked up, figure out what it was. It was basically an autoimmune system that where your body attacks itself and it just causes a lot of damage, right? And so I was like, well, how do you boost your immune system? So I read this book by Terry Walls, and it's called The Walls Protocol. And the book basically is talking about how to feed your body and your cells. So then prior to the book, I watched a TED talk by Terry Walls, and she's saying she had multiple sclerosis, and she got to the point to where she could not walk. She was in a chair that would roll around, and she was a doctor. And she was doing every single thing that you're supposed to do that doctors say you should do to treat multiple sclerosis. And they're like, based off of this, you're going to be in this wheelchair for the rest of your life. And she was like, I'm a doctor. I know what to do. I don't want to end up in this situation ever. Like, I don't want to be here forever. So then she decides, this is in the book or in the TED talk. And she was like, she would take a medicine to help her recover. And then that medicine would have a side effect. So she would take another medicine to reduce the symptoms of the side effect from the first pill she took. And she was like, is there any way for me to get the medicine without the side effects? So then she looked up what was in the first medicine. And it was like magnesium and potassium and calcium, things like that, right? But it also had some other things that would fill it up that would give her the side effects. She's like, what if I look at all the pills that I'm taking and I were to eat those things, like eat the calcium from kale, if I were to get the potassium from bananas, like instead of actually eating the pills, eat the actual food itself. Fast forward, she went from in a gravity chair, is what it's called, to being normal. She's been living with multiple sclerosis for the past 20 years with no symptoms because she changed her diet. And the diet was heavy on like organ meats and vegetables and fruits, like a lot. Like I want to say she would eat maybe a pound of vegetables like throughout the day, something crazy, right? And then she says there are 3 different versions of this meal plan you should follow. And in the book, it broke these meal plans down. One is if you have like cancer or any type of autoimmune system dysfunction. And it's very specific towards that. Then you have one that is just for if you have symptoms of something. Then you have another one that is just eating healthy to have a healthy lifestyle. And so as I read this, I understood what my friend was going through. Like I read it just for information purposes, right? And then I thought about it. I'm like, okay, so the food that I eat, the vitamins and minerals that's inside of the plants, if I eat it raw, like actually eat the lettuce and kale and whatever else raw, the nutrients that it came from and nutrients in it is going to be consumed by my body. So my body is made up of cells. These cells don't eat food, they eat vitamins and they eat minerals. Well, if you have foods that are high in vitamins and minerals, you then are going to be able to feed your cells that thrive off of that. So, most of Americans are not eating enough fruits and vegetables. They're eating processed foods. Even if you eat a whole steak, the steak does not have enough vitamins and minerals that your body needs. It has iron, it has a couple other things, but it's not as much, right? Even with these vegetables, there's proteins in the vegetables, and there's multiple types of proteins that are in these foods. Our body doesn't just digest one type of protein; it digests multiple. I think it's 13, but don't quote me. It's just multiple styles or types of proteins our body can digest. But when you eat meat, animal product meat, there's only one or two, or there's less proteins that your body can consume, right? So I was like, okay, well, how do I get enough protein if I'm not eating, enough meat? So let me pause there. Right before COVID, I decided, I'm like, it was bad. Like I was literally ordering online on the app, the McDonald's app, food, and would drive through the thing and have it prepaid, drive and go and eat my French fries and have my sweet tea. I was like eating horrible, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm done eating this way. I'm going to change it up. So I decided I'm going to get rid of red meat and start eating a lot more vegetables and lean protein. So I was doing that for about a month or two, and then COVID happens, and I'm like, what is COVID? Like, what is this? So I started researching it, and it's a virus, it's a sickness, it's an illness, right? So I'm like, okay, well, how do you prevent yourself from getting sick? It's by boosting your immune system. So I thought back to Terry Walls and this protocol and how to boost your immune system, right? And how to fight any type of sickness and viruses. And it was by fruits and vegetables. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to stick with this. And as I'm eating shrimp and all these other fish products, I was like, my body wasn't craving it. My body was physically craving more fruits and vegetables. Mind you, when you're eating fruits and vegetables and no bread, you're like hungry all the time. So I was trying to figure out how to eat more. I was eating salads over and over and over again. Then I was like, it's been a few months, maybe 6, 7 months, that I haven't eaten fish. It's just been all vegetables. And then I was like, you know what? I need variety. I can't just eat only salads every single day. Mind you, I lost like 10 pounds immediately. All right. And I was like, okay, how do I change this up? So then I was like, can you cook and make food taste like regular food? And the reality was, yes. So I started to learn how to manipulate and change things. So mind you, I'm not eating dairy, I'm not eating eggs, I'm not eating any animal products at all. Now I'm not vegan, but I'm closer to vegan than anything else, right? I did that for 3 years, 3.5 years, where I didn't eat any meat. Now I did have like mayonnaise. Like, mind you, I'm not like in the space where I was thinking, I gotta save the animals. I know if I literally had no food and I was on an island deserted by myself and a mouse or whatever passed by and I was starving, I'm eating the mouse. Okay. So I'm not trying to say like that's probably nasty, a mouse. Anyway, you get what I'm trying to say. Like life or death, I'm eating whatever's around me. But as I did more research, I was like, okay, my cells need these vitamins and nutrients. I'm going to feed my vitamins and nutrients first before I feed myself. What that means is I'm going to have the salads, I'm going to have the nutrients first, which is why in the morning I would get up and I would have 100 grams of spinach, 100 grams of kale, a banana, and then I forgot how much peanut butter I put in there with some water. I blend that up and drink that. And I did that because I knew that the nutrients were going to feed my body first. And there was like 90 plus vitamins and minerals. How long are we talking so far? Vitamins and minerals in there, right? So that was my multivitamin. I went to Walmart during COVID because I was like, let me get the vitamins and minerals that I'm missing from my diet. And I got potassium, iron, magnesium, all those main three, D3, right? And then I realized I can get all that just how Terry Walls did through the food. So that's why I made this protein shake. I drank it every single day for like a year and a half straight. And then as we started to open back up again, I started to explore, started to really study and cook a lot more and change the foods I was eating and did it as that, right? Been healthy really ever since. And I was thinking, well, I'm eating less protein. I'm going to start getting weaker. I was actually getting stronger. So I then got lost, excuse me, in the rabbit hole with the Netflix video game breakers, learning all that stuff. And then got to the point to where on my honeymoon, I decided to, where I was not, I didn't decide. My wife told me, she was like, start eating fish. So I added fish, salmon into my diet. So now I probably will eat salmon maybe per month, mm, maybe once a week, if that. But the rest is all plant based. I eat a lot of beans. I eat a lot of um, pumpkin seeds, cashews, almonds, quinoa. Like I'll make everything, right? Tofu is what I'll do sometimes, but I do the silken tofu. I do a lot of coconut water, a lot of those things. So water is good for you. Coconut water is the best, right? And what I do literally is I go buy the actual young coconut, crack it open, and I drink that, right? It's a very high alkaline type of hydration. There's a lot of things in there, but I've been studying ever since, and I'm starting to see how my body's responding, and it's been doing really, really well, and I really enjoy it. So I say all this because when I have athletes, I tell them, do me a favor, take pictures of all the food you eat. I have an athlete that just joined, I want to say about 3 or 4 months ago. And he was like, I've been dealing with injuries over and over again, like my groin, my hips, like just a lot of like deep injuries. And I'm like, man, like that's not healthy to be so young to be having so many injuries. And I was like, you know what? Take a picture of all the food you eat. Every meal you have, take a picture of it. I want to see it. He sends me this. He's eating like fruit juice in the morning, Rice Krispie treats, Takis, random food. There was literally not one vegetable at all eaten by him. And so I said, listen, let's just try this. Just add more vegetables to your diet. Don't change anything yet. Just add more vegetables. And then whatever you feel that you need, eat those things. But just start by every meal, have your vegetables first. And try to have them as raw as possible. But if you are going to cook them lightly and just go from there. He's like, cool. But us having this conversation, he's like, I understand what you're saying. Let me just make some more adjustments. Let me back off some of the Kool-Aid and the drinks that I'm drinking, drink more water. He made his own adjustments just so I wasn't liable, right? And fast forward, his body's healing faster. You know, he's went from injury where he lost his whole outdoor season to now he's actually performing very well. And he's just started season last week, and he had 2 PRs. He had a PR in his running event. He had a PR in one of his jumping events, and it's just like really thriving, and he's doing really well. A big part of that is simply because his body, his cells are operating with the proper nutrients within them. A lot of people, even yourself watching this, are are deprived. Your cells are deprived, and you're operating from there. And the symptoms you're having are because you're not properly feeding your cells. When the cells die out, then your body can't move and operate the way it needs to, right? When your muscles fire, it needs oxygen and it needs water, and those help your muscles move. But inside of that are your cells that actually need those two things, but also need the vitamins and nutrients that your body isn't getting. And if you're not eating the correct foods, you're eating processed foods that are high in sodium, you're now dehydrating your muscles, which leads to injuries. So it all comes back down to food. That's why you look at the professional athletes, the Olympians, Michael Phelps, Sha'Carri Richardson. Like, if you were to ask them what they eat in a day, they're going to be very, very strict. They're going to have private chefs. They're going to have people that are feeding them specific foods. And if you're wanting to go pro, if you're wanting to compete in college and you're eating chips, you know, and nachos and like hamburgers every day, you're not eating the correct foods that is needed. So many athletes are drinking 5-hour energies, are, eating chips before a track meet. They're drinking sodas and Kool-Aids. It's like, yes, you're doing well as an athlete, but your body is aging fast and it's not going to be where it needs to be. So, whatever you're doing for now is start by assessing what you're eating. Just assess it. The best way to assess is every single time you're about to put food in your mouth, take a picture of whatever it is that you're eating. Take a picture of it. Okay. Um, and then if you have the resources for it, take those pictures and have a registered dietitian, not a nutritionist, not a personal trainer. They are not qualified to give you nutritional advice. Go to a registered dietitian and show them this, and that person will then be able to tell you what's going on with your food. Okay. Don't just drastically change and say, I'm going to eat salads from now on, like how you did. Don't do that. Because what usually happens is when you go from eating a burger and fries, right? That burger and fries and shake is about 1,500 calories just in that one sitting, right? If you're eating a bunch of food, you have a lot of calories coming in. If you say, I'm going to eat salads from now on, the salad is going to make you feel full sooner because of all the fiber. Now, if you eat a salad, the salad might be 300 calories. If you add a bunch of ranch, now it's maybe 500 calories, 600. It's only a fraction of the calories you would normally get from the food you would normally eat. So now, yes, you're going to lose weight. You're going to get not in shape faster, but you're going to drop fat. The issue is now you're not having enough calories for the day. And if you're an athlete, I'm assuming you are because you're watching this video, you're not getting the calories you need, right? But now it comes down to what type of calories should you have. That's why I simply say, eat with whatever you're eating just for now and just add in the salad. So you're going to add more calories, but it's not too much. And also, if you're eating more of the salads first, then you're going to have less of an appetite for the food you should not be eating. Then it's going to start working its way out. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. That was a longer conversation than I expected. However, you now understand just the basics of food and nutrition. Start doing your research, get educated in what you're eating, learn how to read labels because labels are designed to confuse you. It doesn't make sense when mayonnaise says low carb when it's literally just fat. If you knew the origin of margarine and where it came from, you would be completely disgusted. Like, just do your own education, develop your own perspectives, your own ideas, and your own philosophy. I have mine. Do your own due diligence to create yours and make your own decisions to help you get to the goals you need to get to. But I will tell you 100%, if you're eating poorly, that's the first reason why you're watching this video, to figure out how to improve your triple jump. Like, my step phase isn't good because you're not eating correctly. Literally. Now you could do a drill, which will help you, but you're not able to move correctly because you're not eating correctly. Got it?